Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, February 24th, 2025. We are back this morning for another work session. This time, our discussion item is Internal Climate Action, Resilience, and Education Plan, which is I.C.A.R.E is the how we abbreviate that, and it's an update on the I.C.A.R.E program. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me is my fellow Commissioner, John Kofalis, and we have Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally on the phone this morning. We also have our County Manager, Lorinda Volker, with us, and I am going to shoot this over to Abby Stapleton from the Office of Sustainability and Climate, and she'll be kicking things off for us, and then folks can introduce themselves as they speak. Welcome, everyone. And Heidi Pruis is the Director of the Sustainability and Climate. She is here as well. Thank you. Oh. You
Okay.
can reintroduce yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the reminder. I'm Abby Stapleton, Sustainability Program Coordinator here at Larimer County, and today I'm going to be talking about the Internal Climate Action, Resilience, and Education Plan, also known as I.C.A.R.E. We have several departments across the county involved in this team, and I'm excited to share what we've been working on in 2024 and a few plans for 2025. Maybe. Okay. So first I want to revisit our emissions inventory. This was done in 2022. This pie chart shows our internal county operation emissions only, so it does not include our community greenhouse gas emissions. And this is also shown without the Larimer County landfill. I just want to kind of go through the pieces of this. For the consumption part of it, the 38%, that includes our food, asphalt and cement, computer, hardware, and paper. Asphalt and cement make up 24% of that 38%, so that is a large piece of that. And I also want to say that doing the consumption piece of the landfill is still a relatively young field where there's not best practices really identified. So Larimer County is considered a pioneer for kind of going after the commission or the consumption-based inventory just to kind of see where we're at on that, although it's not perfect. And then the next section of that pie chart is our stationary energy, which is our building energy use. And then we have our fleet and equipment and employee commuting, and then a couple other smaller pieces down there. And this is just one way to look at our operations, but it's not all inclusive. Not everything that we do as a county shows up here in this greenhouse gas emissions inventory, and kind of likewise, not everything that we do to improve the county in a sustainability way and reduce our greenhouse gases will show up in an inventory. It's just not all there all the time. So this is kind of a good starting point for us to see what we can do internally, but it's not going to capture everything. As a reminder, there's 4 overarching sections in the internal climate plan that also match up with our community climate smart future ready plan. The 4 are the unifying solutions, built environment, waste, and we have our mobility section, and then also our natural resources and ag and water section. So the goal in the slides following will kind of always be on the left, and then the middle will be what happened in 2024, if there's any updates. And then if the group has a plan for 2025 and they know what they might be doing this year, then that will be on the right side. So the first goal I want to get into here is about our ozone emissions here at the county. This goal is being reworked with evaluation with the Regional Air Quality Council. We've decided the school might not be the best match anymore, so we are reworking that. So maybe later this year in July, you'll have an updated goal that matches what the county can do a little better. Last year, we did have that Timnath monitoring station put up for our ozone monitoring, and they're working on the Loveland monitoring station. That'll make 3 that the county has. The equipment is all in place there. They're just waiting on the electrical connections with the city of Loveland, so that one's coming soon. And just as a tie-in for our strategic county plan, a milestone that we have is to develop a regional landscaping electric equipment rebate program. I just wanted to make that connection to the strategic plan for you to kind of see that that falls into our internal climate plan as well. And I'm going to turn it over to Leah to talk about our this landscaping program that I just mentioned and the successes that they had with that.
Yep. Hi, Commissioners and Lorinda. This is Leah with the Larimer County Health Department, Leah Schneider, and then I have Noelle Udall with me. She's also part of my air quality team. So as you all know, landscaping equipment is a big, significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, significantly nitrous oxide, which is 300 times more warming than, say, carbon dioxide. So important in the greenhouse gas aspect, but also in the ozone formation. Fossil fueled landscaping equipment also emits other nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds, which create ozone during the summer months here. And then, as you can see in the graph that we have, Regional Air Quality Council produced this graph. It's for 2026 emissions for volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides. And we have boxed in, that's just landscaping equipment. That's about 36 tons of volatile organic compounds per day of use. So you can see it's a pretty significant contributor to our ozone. And actually, RAC has predicted, or they've estimated, that about 6% of our ozone formation on our 10 highest days actually comes from landscaping equipment in our own area. So you can see why this program is pretty beneficial. All right, so, and then the graph, you guys have seen that one on the right many times. It's created by the California Air Resource Board. They equate 1 hour of using a commercial lawnmower as driving 300 vehicle miles, and that's from North Colorado border to the South Colorado border. Or if using a commercial leaf blower for 1 hour, that's 1,100 miles, and that's from driving to Denver to LA. So, next slide, please. And so to help reduce landscaping emissions, you, the commissioners, granted us some funding this past 2024 to conduct a pilot program to see what we could do with electrification of landscaping equipment. So we hired a summer intern. Her name was Anna Kenyon, and she was in the process of earning her master's in public health. She helped us set up the program. She did all the outreach. She worked with Boulder County, who has their PACE program, which is the Partners for a Clean Environment. And they also issue funding towards electrification. So she did a lot of research with them. She conducted outreach with a lot of our local organizations. She also created program materials and translated these to Spanish. She set up contracts with 2 of our local retailers that would accept our vouchers, and then they'd send us invoices, and that's Mac Equipment in Loveland and High Altitude in Berthoud, both very appreciative to be involved and would be honored to speak to anyone about the program and the success. They actually appreciated ours a little better than Boulder's. We made it a little easier. So, and we can talk more about that if you're interested. And then I have Noelle here. Noelle helped implement the program when Anna left for the summer. So Noelle implemented the program with conducting the interviews, because we did interview every applicant that applied. And then she was helping to award the vouchers so that they could, vouchers to those that could meet the criteria. And then, as you can see, our criteria for the businesses, we wanted to limit it to small businesses of 15 or fewer employees, and then have contracts of at least 3 customers in Larimer County. And that was just so that we could support small business in the area. And we also emphasize minority businesses, and that's, female-owned, Hispanic, variety. And that was through our outreach that Anna did with other local organizations in the area to get the word out that we'd have this program and to really jump on it when we applied. And we sent the notices directly to people. The recipients received about $6,000 voucher to purchase an American Green Zone Alliance, which is AGZA, certified commercial landscaping equipment, which was battery powered, so it's not cord powered. And then in return, the recipients would receive, they would actually pay the sales tax, which was about $400 to $500. And Larimer County provided free flower blankets. That would be nice. We provided fire blankets for safety, and we also provided TOA chargers, which help slow charge each battery while it's on a charger so that you don't override your power system and no power outages. With our 95,000, as you see, we had a lot of success. Within 1 week, 24 businesses applied within, like I said, 7 days. We had to narrow that down. We ended up with 14 applicants because we were awarded $95,000 to use towards this grant. And with that, we were able to support 14 applicants, and that included 94 pieces of electric equipment and 38 extra batteries, among some other miscellaneous items that were purchased. So we just submitted a Questica last week to fulfill 10 remaining applicants from 2024, and that is about $6,000 or $66,000 that we requested. So We were advised, though, if there's additional funding, if there's an interest to promote this even more, we can submit a separate Questica for a different amount if you guys are interested. This will all be evaluated later in March, I understand. And we're also very open to any modifications that you may have towards like the business criteria or maybe say the amount on the voucher. One thing our retailers did say, anything less than $5,000 really limits their type of equipment that they could get. For the most part, that $6,000 was, you were able to get some of our top things. You could get a push mower, a trimmer, a leaf blower, and a chainsaw, and then some extra batteries and support chargers with that. So that's my
great.
presentation.
Thank
If there's
you.
any questions.
Questions? Commissioner Shattuck McNally, any questions?
No, thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to tell everybody this is fantastic work, great job, and very proud of what all was accomplished last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kavalis actually does have a question. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Leah, colleagues. I'm wondering, what are the opportunities for partnering with other agencies, jurisdictions to try to, on the funding piece, to try to collaborate and figure out how we can create funds that might allow more businesses to participate?
Sure, I know Heidi's been trying to help me pursue some grants. Boulder County also, because they're a little nervous. They've actually been submitting, their vouchers are for like $35,000, but the recipient has to pay 20% of their purchase, so it makes it a lot harder. That's a lot of money up front, so they really only get the big commercial vendors in there. But Boulder was interested in also partnering because they're worried that some of their funding may go away with some of these decrease in property tax and things like that. So there is an opportunity there. Another option, because Regional Air Quality Council currently does not have their lawn and garden going, even for residential or commercial. It's kind of closed right now. But their RAC is about to propose to, I think it's, and Commissioner Stevens, you're going to have to remind me that.
Non-attainment
Yeah.
area air pollution mitigation.
Yes. And so we're hoping the RAC is supported because they would like some of that enterprise funding to then support our metropolitan planning organization up here so that Larimer County and Weld County could apply for some of these grants if the funds are available, and RAC would then manage that account for us, and we could have our commercial landscapers apply there. So I'm plugging right now. So wink, wink. But that is one thing that we're really hopeful for, and I've been in communications with RAC. If they haven't asked for a letter of support yet, but we're here for them if they'd like, because that would be a pretty easy avenue for us if we could have RAC manage it for us even. But that would open it up to Weld County and Larimer County, who are constantly left out of DRCOG funding, because RAC will manage a lot for the DRCOG area, which is the more concentrated area of our non-attainment area. Most of the funding, like the electrification of mobile food units, that was only if you had a registration in the Denver metro area or one of the, like Boulder or Jeffco. Same thing for I think it's the Clean Car Act, where you can get support for your emissions. That also is only for that Denver registration or anything. So we up here miss out on a few of those opportunities.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
That's all great. I'm just wondering, municipalities that are in Larimer County, like Fort Collins, Loveland, we do partner with them on a lot of the air quality monitoring stuff. Is there any discussion to create a pool of funds that might create some synergy here, or a revolving loan fund or something to build in some financial sustainability to this?
Ooh, financial sustainability, we haven't talked about at this point, but there is interest in other partnerships. So it's just a matter of trying to figure out where their funding sources would be as well. As you all know, I work pretty close with the City of Fort Collins. Yeah. And they actually, one of their employees that used to work closely with us in the lawn and garden actually left and went to another position. So we're still kind of figuring out the logistics of that part and support. But we'd also like to reach out to Loveland and Estes Park and see if they have any interest in this opportunity.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
No, you're welcome. And I'm glad there's a lot of interest. So that's really exciting that people actually do want to adopt these, electric and battery operated lawn equipment, because, I think that there's some belief that they're not as effective or whatever. And it's clear if we have a waiting list of 58 that people are really eager to use this. And honestly, if you have people working for you, I mean, they're not having those emissions all day long. I mean, it's good for your staff to not have to breathe in some of that.
That's a big promotion for this, is the reduction of emissions, the noise that could impact your hearing, the
Right.
body vibrations from the low frequency noise. It's also a big health impact for these, the employees in landscaping business.
Right, exactly. So, well, we'll work on funding. We'll see, I think that there's some opportunities for, some funding in other areas. I'm not sure that the NAPME funds can be used on non-transportation, and that's what's unclear to me right now. But we'll work through that and we'll see what we can do, because I do agree that it would be great to have more dollars. But I think it's great work that you've done already, so thank you for highlighting that. And I think we'll keep moving because we got a lot of slides. Thank you.
The next kind of overarching section in the internal climate plan is our built environment, waste, and economy. With our county facilities, they've been working on some different retrofit projects over the years, and the most recent one in 2024 was retrofitting a boiler in the Justice Center to a higher efficiency boiler. So that upgrade is saving 3,667 therms per year, which is 17.9 metric tons of CO2 equivalent. And to kind of put that into perspective for something most of us can understand better, is that is 4.5 gas-powered vehicles driven for a year, or 2.6 homes worth of energy use per year in reductions, just by changing over that boiler. And then last year, just a reminder, that an action that fell under the school was also that Soul Smart Silver designation. So that was kudos to the work in community planning and building. They did the work to have us designated as that, which shows we're a solar-friendly community and that we have processes here at the county to streamline solar deployment. And then 2 of our buildings were recognized as silver with the Colorado Green Business Network. That's our 200 West Oak admin building and then our Justice Center. We had to apply and fill out different forms to show that our buildings have sustainable operating procedures, and we are working on efficiency and transportation here at the county. So facilities worked on that designation, and that's very exciting that we have that, and hopefully we can kind of work on some more of our buildings for that designation. Up for 2025 is kind of continue necessary preparations for the new building, the new emergency services building that contains a geothermal system and has some electrification HVAC components. We're very excited about that building to kind of test the waters on some of those new technologies that can help us reduce our greenhouse gases at the county. And then with solid waste, we have a Colorado Energy Office grant out there that solid waste is waiting to hear back on. That grant will allow us to expand our methane collection system at the landfill, which is very important since the landfill is going to be closed soon. We want to be able to do something about the emissions that will continue to come from the landfill. So expanding this system would be really awesome. And we've been working on that. So we hope that solid waste gets that grant. And then in 2025, with the new transfer station at the landfill, Biochar Now is assisting with the woody diversion program there. The transfer station's really making that work more possible. And then moving on to another goal in this waste and economy section is our green purchasing. So we have a goal to spend more dollars on sustainable operating and office supplies, and then also increase the number of RFPs that have sustainable criteria in them. So and in 2022, we spent 8% of our dollars on environmentally friendly purchases from both Amazon and Office Depot. Those are the 2 kind of vendors we spend a lot of our money on for these specific type of supplies. So those kind of who we're targeting first to try to educate employees about green purchasing from those 2. Office Depot has went from 25% to 16%, so it's dropped in the amount we purchase green from there, but we've also purchased 10,000 less, so I think that has a lot to do with those numbers. And then Amazon grew from 6% to 7% of employees choosing Climate Pledge Friendly on there. So kind of with those percentages, one going up and one going down, we're still at that 8%. So we are working on education with that and trying to show that some of these green products aren't always more expensive. And then with RFPs, 76% of the requests for proposals in 2024 included some environmental social governance criteria. So that means that The departments that are creating proposals are adding a couple points with questions that have to do with environmental social governance at different vendors, so they can kind of evaluate them in a different way based on those topics. And that is 13 out of 17 RFPs. So exciting departments think that it's also important to evaluate our vendors in that way. And then another little piece that has to do with green purchasing is that I was kind of curious how departments are doing with green purchasing and if our education has made any difference. So I asked Natural Resources how they've been doing, and they said that the slight cost increases that come from purchasing green products has been a little bit of a barrier, and like trying to take a little bit more time to find products that might be the same price but also have those certifications. But they have transitioned all of their office supplies and flatware purchases to buying green products. So they've been doing really good with that. They're very passionate about that at Natural Resources. And they, it doesn't have to do with Office Depot and Amazon, but they are excited to let me know that they've been buying solar panels for different pieces at our Natural Resources buildings. So they have a couple small solar panels for building energy. They use them for locking and unlocking gates that can be electronically used. So that's a really awesome way to have less employees kind of working on those little pieces and for security. And then they also use them for the kiosks that you kind of get your daily park permits from. So those are powered by solar panels as well, several of those. And then up next for 2025 for the school is discussions on incorporating more education around Amazon and Office Depot into our P-card training, so that employees that get a P-card kind of know about it from the beginning and what to look for when they're on those websites. And I think that'll make a big difference. Instead of trying to kind of change how people do it, you kind of can know about it from the beginning that Larimer County is working towards this. And we also just want to highlight other opportunities and to engage more staff through different kind of little workshops with our Amazon and ODP representatives. And then the next section, we're going to move on to our mobility piece with our regional paved trails and our widening shoulders for kind of allowing more residents to be able to bike on our county roads. We added 5.6 miles of widened shoulders to our 67 miles that we already have right now throughout the county. And then up next for 2025, more on the side of the trails for people to bike and walk on. A 1.5 mile connector trail from River Bluffs to I-25 is being constructed, and then also a trail connecting Wellington to the northeast Fort Collins regions under study. So they're kind of working on continuing to add more trails. And then next I'm going to move on to our electric vehicle charging stations. In 2024, we were working on installing more stations at county buildings that are open to the public. And I'm happy to say that we have 4 new level 2 chargers, and our last DC fast charger is coming soon. It just had a couple different mechanical pieces that needed to be completed, and getting it on the network and all those kind of things. It just took a little bit longer than we were hoping. So we're going to have 5 level 2 chargers and then 1 DC fast charger. And I'm kind of using this work session to give you a little bit more of an update on those EV stations and show you some pictures just so you can see how they're looking. And I also have David Bragg here from Facilities, who's been doing all of the work with the contractor to install these and working with the electric folks to shut down the building and do all that kind of work. So there has been a lot involved, especially setting it up with the ChargePoint network so people can use the app to find our stations as well. So the state of Colorado has goals for the entire state to add electric vehicle charging stations. So when you zoom into Larimer County, we need 1,447 level 2 public chargers and 309 DC fast chargers to support the new EVs in the county by 2030. So us as a county putting these charging stations out for public use is also kind of benefiting the state's goals. So it's very important work that we're doing by using our property to put stations out for residents and people to use as they're visiting our properties. There is a connection with the strategic plan here too. The strategic plan has a milestone to develop a sustainable built environment and improve air quality through electrification. And then our community plan, Climate Smart Future Ready, The greenhouse gas inventory in that plan shows that mobility is 27% of our countywide emissions inventory. So the charging stations also allow more alternative transportation to be used. Okay, and then just some images of our charging stations and an overview of where our new stations are. The Carter Lake Admin Building got a level 2 charge point station. And I do want to go back to this map here because you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see my mouse, but this station right here is Carter Lake and this one right here is Horsetooth. So you can see that these two stations are a little bit more west and a little bit more rural. So it's probably going to be really exciting for community members and people traveling in Larimer County to have those stations there because they're in areas that are just a little bit further from the city areas where there's more opportunities available. So again, this one's at our Carter Lake building. And then here's our charge point station at our Horsetooth Reservoir Information Center. And then our 200 West Oak one that is coming soon is a DC fast charger. So you can see it's much larger and will allow community members to charge much more quickly as they're coming into the building for 20 minutes to an hour. They'll be able to get their 80% charge or full charge much quicker on this charging station. And then we do have 2 public-facing charging stations at our new Fleet campus on Rickenbacker. So those are also open to the public. The area is not as, highly traveled, but I think with the development of that building, it just made sense with the grants and such to be able to pursue adding two public stations there. And those also might be used in the future for different fleet vehicles that are there and for employees. So I'm going to show you quickly our website that is updated for the public to go through so they can see more about our charging stations. It has just information on our charging station plan if people are interested in seeing that. It has our pricing system, where our stations are, and whether they have a parking limit. So 200 West Oak will still have a 2-hour parking limit on that charging station, which shouldn't be an issue because it's a fast charger. I'm going to go over our pricing here. So we looked at all over the state and what other people are charging. Some charge per hour, some charge per kilowatt hour. And then we also kind of use data from our Loveland station that we already have at our Loveland campus. And we use the cost of electricity and then cost of the charging station, just looking at all the maintenance that is required. We signed a 5-year maintenance contract with ChargePoint, which is really what we have to do right now with the lack of charging station mechanics around. So it's really nice to have that relationship with ChargePoint to come fix our station when needed until the workforce is more developed. So we decided on 30 cents per kilowatt hour, which is very competitive with gas prices. We want to encourage people to use our charging stations and to adopt electric vehicle. So we needed to keep that price equal to or less than what it would be to fill up your gas vehicle. And then there is an idle fee. If you leave your car there for more than 30 minutes after it's done charging, it'll start charging 10 cents per minute after that 30-minute period. So if you park at our building to go walk around Old Town, and your phone will tell you when your car is done charging typically if you have the app, so then you have 30 minutes to come back before you get any additional fees on that. And that's to help the turnover on the stations. We don't want anyone to be upset that they can't charge their vehicle when there's a car that's just sitting there for hours. And then the rest of the page is just that map again that's interactive so people can see where the stations are and use the Charge Hub app when they're driving their EV around throughout the state to find other stations that are available. That's all I have on the electric vehicle stations. So if you guys have any questions on the installation process or any of that, myself and David Bragg are here for any of those questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. I'll just ask one question on this topic. Regarding the state goal for Larimer County, 1,447 charging stations, how many do we have? What percentage of that goal have we achieved? And is it our goal to get to that number or close?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in our EV charging station plan, we would like to reach that as close as possible as we can. What with the funding barriers that is difficult. I believe right now we have close to 400 stations total, around, I think, like 300 level 2s and about 61 level 3s. So, yes.
Seems to me that's not too shabby.
No, it's not too bad. Yeah, I think it just depends on how the funding goes and
Questions, Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Abby, and you can correct my level of understanding if I don't have this correct, but as I understand, the level 3 charging can be detrimental over the long term for certain plugins, and that it can, possibly, need to. They recommend that you limit excessive fast charging whenever possible. So I was curious where the around our Oak Street location, the apps, do they show other possibilities for level 2 charging for those who maybe don't want to always have to have the level 3 charging? I know that's really attractive for folks who are there just for a brief moment, with not everyone's there for long periods of time. And I'm curious about, there's 2 questions in there. One, about the excessive and what you know about that charging. And then number 2, I have a couple apps on my phone, but I'm just curious about other opportunities for employees or others for level 2 around our buildings here in downtown. Thank you.
yeah, I believe that is true that some vehicles, it's not the best to charge with level 3s, but I believe some of that technology is changing. But some of the older vehicles, I think that level 3 is a little hard on their system. But some people really seek out those level 3s, so they'll drive extra just to get to them because they know that they can charge their vehicle in 30 minutes rather than hanging out for 3 hours while they wait for the level 2. So from what I've heard, our level 3 is going to get a very high volume of use. So I'm interested to see if that's going to be true, especially for the kind of work that the administrative building has for community members to kind of stop in for a bit and then head out. So regarding the apps, yes, people will be able to see if the charging station is in use, and then they can go to a nearby station. There's also several level 2s in this area, right catty corner in the parking garage. There's level 2s there, and I think there's also several just within like a mile radius of here.
Thank you. All right, I think we'll move on then.
All right, give me a moment here. I'm going to go back to my main slides. Okay, so the next goal is around our fleet. We added 2 electric vehicles to our fleet in 2024, so we have now a total of 3. And with this alternative alternative fuel that we're adding to our fleet, so we have a couple hybrids and then these electric vehicles, our current miles per gallon is 14.81 throughout our fleet. And then in 2025, with these new EVs, there's kind of needed, I think we're starting to think about kind of how we want to train our employees so they feel comfortable driving EVs at work and using them for work purposes. So I'm working with our fleet department to see kind of how they want to go about that, because if we're going to keep adopting electric vehicles, we might need to kind of develop a status quo for what the best way is to educate employees and allow them to be excited about driving electric vehicles for work. And they also hope to add 2 additional EVs this year. So if that happens, we'll have 5 in our fleet. On top of Natural Resources is also planning on adding some EV trucks this year. They feel that it would be very beneficial for their rangers to drive EV trucks, since they do a lot of driving around the different parks. And then kind of switching gears to our employee commuting regarding transportation, there's not a lot going on with tracking alternative commuting and who works voluntary from home, because right now we only have the mandatory numbers. So we're kind of hanging out in that phase, waiting to see what else we can do to track that data and determine what our kind of footprint is with our employee commuting. But we do have a new partnership that's kind of on the way right now with the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization. They have bought kind of the rights to use the Way to Go app, which Dr. Cog does use. And this is kind of a specific one for Northern Colorado. And they can make a subgroup for Larimer County employees on there. So this is going to be a way for employees to upload their route they took to work, how they got to work, so they can put they can put their address in if they want. I think it's like it's very customizable if you would want to put your address in there or just record your miles after the fact. But you can show that you biked, walked, carpool, vanpool, all of those kind of items. And this is also a way to find ride shares. So you can put in your to from destination and it will show different people in the community that are open to carpooling, and you can find kind of a match on there. So we're really excited to introduce this to employees in a couple months to kind of incentivize in a way that they can use this app to show us, so we're able to reward them in some way. So we are going to hopefully be able to do some Nectar point options. And for those that don't know, that may be listening in, Nectar is the county employees' way to recognize employees for different things that we do here, which is, great customer service or maybe birthdays or watching different webinars on health. So we would hopefully be able to utilize Nectar for also rewarding employees for taking alternative transportation. And we hope to do like a challenge, like a monthly challenge. So maybe in July we can say who took the most miles to work that was alternative commuting. And so we're really excited that North Front Range is doing that to help out the community.
Questions, Commissioner? No? Okay. No, I think that's a great idea. I'd love to see a challenge around that. Because I think once you get people to start thinking about how they get to work in a different way, they're more willing to do that in the future, right? So, Bike to Work Day helps support things like that. But, yeah, if we could do some sort of celebration or, I don't know, if, for people who reach a certain milestone of how many miles that they've, used alternative transportation, I think that would be really great.
Yeah, and I believe it also shows, it'll calculate and do some of that math with your miles to show you more things that you can understand. Like it'll show your greenhouse gas emissions and your carbon footprint reduction by using these alternative methods. So then our last kind of overarching section we're going to get into here is our natural environment, water, and ag. Regarding natural resources and some of our open spaces, they completed a management plan for Chimney Hollow open space last year. So that shows ways that we can have recreation on site without putting too much hard infrastructure at the open space, and kind of do that in minimal ways. And then with our Larimer County landscaping, they actually were able to do a couple things in 2024. They did some projects at the sheriff's office. They reduced turf along the entry drive and replaced it with drought-tolerant landscape, and then they also updated the irrigation there. And then 200 West Oak, as you're aware, has had many phases of projects. They've, our facilities department, they've had so many things that they wanted to do at 200 West Oak, and most of them are done now, and they have really awesome benefits and a lot of water savings. So here at 200 West Oak, the last phase was that they retrofitted irrigation from spray to drip, and they replaced some of the turf with shrubs, and they also updated our irrigation controller to be more efficient. So it's like the small things you can do that over time will save us a lot of water. And the team did say that they're not going to be able to do as much in 2025 as they were hoping, just with some of the funding cuts, but they did get a grant from Northern Water to do a project at our Loveland campus. And I have a couple images that they shared with me to be able to show you kind of what's going to happen at this. You can look forward to this project. So this is our Larimer County Loveland campus building, and the project is going to be along North Denver Avenue over here, and then this corner, and then the bottom part on East First Street. So here is a kind of concept drawing. So it's going to have different mulches, rocks, and prairie grasses kind of back and forth along there instead of the turf. And then that corner area is going to have the native seed grass mix. And here's some other images from that concept, just so you can kind of imagine what that's going to be looking like this summer when it's nice and warm out and all the plants are thriving. Different rocks here and some other native plants. So some data on this project is that the total cost is $60,000, but the grant covers $25K, leaving the county with $35K, which is the grant's paying almost half. So it's really exciting that we're able to partner with that and complete this project. And it has a payback period of 12 years. It's going to save 324,000 gallons of water annually, which is 27,000 gallons per month, just by doing the small, like most strip area. That's how much water you can save by transferring over to some drought-tolerant landscaping. And the project's going to take place from mid-May to mid-June. And then one more natural resources goal here about conserving our open spaces and getting more land. In 2024, we had 624 acres of land conserved. That was the Rocky Ridge acquisition and then the Prairie Ridge Natural Area addition. And in 2025, Natural Resources has already conserved 4,478 acres and hopefully more to come. And then the last goal is about disaster avoidance and hazard mitigation. So this one's kind of in OEM's wheelhouse. They work with so many community partners yearly. So this is just a piece of what Office of Emergency Management does. And before we get into some of those specific projects, I want to say that they have these community hubs where community members can get to know each other and kind of collect resources. So they have community when there is a natural disaster. So there's several, I believe we have about 18 now throughout the county. And last year they established 2 new virtual only hubs in Pinewood Lakes and Storm Mountain area. So that the virtual ones are good options for communities that might not have a space where they are to meet as a group. And I'm going to pass it over to Josh to talk a little bit more about some of the projects that they did in 2024.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. Josh Roberts, Mitigation Coordinator, Office of Emergency Management. Y'all just can't get rid of me this morning, I guess, apparently. But no, glad to be able to hear to support Abby and the great work that Abby and Heidi and my colleagues here, are doing. But, with respect to these items, so I think the thinking was since we administer the program, it kind of made sense to report out in this work session here. The first one I'll talk about is our Community Mitigation Grant Program. And I don't know if we've ever given you guys like a summary, but it was created in 2022, right? So this year, the 2025 cycle is the 4th annual cycle for it. And again, the application period is open currently. So any communities, any neighborhoods out there interested, please give us a shout or take a look at that. Application period will close on March 9th. But in total, since 2022 to date, 34 community mitigation projects have been completed in the 3 annual cycles there, and that's a total of over $200,000 in grant funds awarded. There's 25 different recipients, so neighborhoods mostly, that have received some of that awarded funding, in 32 projects. These projects, they range in amounts from a couple of $1,000s up to our max $10,000 for mitigation of hazards. Most of the time it's the wildfire hazard in our WUI communities, and west. The really cool thing about all of these projects, and they've varied, in terms of what they were, they're grassroots built. So it's projects that, are important to them, things that they want to do, can do. But all of them have they've really, neighbors have gotten to know one another, and the neighborhoods themselves and the community, it's really helped to organize themselves around this important work that, we define as risk reduction or hazard mitigation. And that in and of itself has led to a lot of things. The improvement of the social license for the work in general, our ability to come in beside them on top or whatever to help go after other funds, that are a little bit larger for projects. So it's a good program, and we're excited about this year's, projects as well. Last year projects, they ranged from Big Elk Meadows, was able to use some of our awarded funding to acquire some more equipment for volunteers doing some mitigation work that they've been working on in years past Johnny Park Road, just getting some saws. They got a stump grinder for us, this year. Glacier View and the fire department, they've got a group of mitigation volunteers. They were able to acquire a dump trailer to just save their backs and make their work a little easier for all of the mitigation work that they do across the community. Crystal Lakes was able to hire a contractor to do some roadside thinning on a really narrow pinch point kind of road in the community. Poudre Canyon, Upper Poudre Community Association received an award. They got some volunteers together, did some work days around those community buildings up there, hired a contractor to help, utilized the fire department's chipper, and they also created source some materials and things there locally, and they built a little tool shed that's going to house a mitigation tool library. So we've had some slash chipping events from some neighborhoods up in Estes as well. So really, it's a variety of work that these neighborhoods are doing, and it's work that's important to them. They're sort of building a project from the ground up. So thanks for the opportunity to talk about that grant program there. The other thing, Abby, I think maybe I wanted to mention was our the COSWAP Landscape Resilience Investment Project. So COSWAP's an acronym, stands for Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program. Yep, that's right. Had to double check. But this is where the state's Department of Natural Resources and the COSWAP, Commissioner Shattuck McNally, I know you know these folks well, but they awarded us last year $1.1 million to do a couple of different projects, one around the North Cherokee Park area and one in the Cedar Park area in the Big Thompson Canyon. And we're essentially just administering the funds, but we're working with our partners at Conservation District, Coalition for the Poudre River Watershed, Big Thompson Watershed Coalition, Loveland Fire Rescue Authority, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and some others to do some forest restoration, forest health type of treatments and work in those areas. So we're excited that's already started this year, and we're excited to really get that one well underway this year as well. So that's all I have in case there's any questions, unless I missed anything, Abby.
That was great. I'm glad you're here to give that great update to them.
Any questions, Commissioner? Commissioner?
Yeah, if I could, Madam Chair.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Your work has been so critical in maintaining these partnerships and streamlining all this work so we can leverage our resources. Can you just dive a little bit more into the resiliency hubs a little bit more and the connection that they have to their local fire districts as well? I'm assuming there's a strong connection there.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. Good question. Certainly, not every hub is sort of created equal, I guess, in the sense that it's really just another attempt to meet our communities where they're at in terms of what's important for them and in terms of how they already sort of distribute information in their community or in their neighborhood. And really the hub concept as a whole, it's just to help, improve to where it's not just, it's really to improve that communication and that information flow, right? So it's not just a vertical top-down from us and then one-way push of information, but we get to know these hubs a little bit better, and we have a stronger connection in with them, so we can send them the info, and then they can disseminate that info in a horizontal fashion, right? And then also just back to us, give us that feedback and some of that feedback loop there. And in terms of any given hub's connection to their servicing fire department, it varies. But I could tell you, like for an example, Abby mentioned Storm Mountain come online this past year. They were a new hub. They're in close connection with Loveland Fire Rescue Authority and obviously Station 9 there at the top of Storm Mountain. We've done some educational events there with them, and so there's a really strong link there. And similar in some of the other areas as well. Just they're not all, they don't all maybe have that same, really strong connection tied in with their servicing fire department. But through us and with us, that's kind of things that we help to amplify with them and help make those connections and pass along that info. I hope I answered your question there, Commissioner.
Yeah, you did. And thank you for that. I also curious, as we're going and developing these hubs and learning about these stories you mentioned Storm Mountain. Are we documenting this or interviewing or telling the story so we can help folks understand the importance of this work going forward, since some of the funding federally might be in jeopardy? For instance, as you know, I've walked around Storm Mountain to the home that did mitigation work that it was not impacted by the fire, but the homes all around it that did not do mitigation work were impacted. And so I'm wondering if we're also working with those partners just to document and share these stories and these successes from these projects so that we can share this information going forward of the tremendous investment. As you know, and I'm sure everyone knows, but I'll say this again, every dollar invested in mitigation saves us $13 in recovery and restoration costs. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the plug there in terms of mitigation work being sound financial investments. Appreciate that. So that answer is yes, and in different ways and at different levels. So, for example, we, as you know, Commissioner, we participate regularly and are a pretty strong partner in the NOCO, Northern Colorado Fireshed Collaborative. And that Fireshed Collaborative, has a like an outreach subcommittee that meets regularly, and they just hired someone new to help them with that. So certainly I've written a blog post, and they've shared some information on some of our programs and vice versa. And we're also, I mentioned we've got some educational events that we're attending with some of these hubs with these communities. In our community mitigation grant, one of the requirements actually is they have to have a community-wide meeting when they receive an award from us to talk with their neighbors at large about the project, and they got to let us know about that meeting. So we like to show up, and oftentimes break bread with them, and just get to know them, and for them to get to know us a little bit better, and that streamlines, all of the communication flow around how important this work is, for all of us. In addition to telling that story, we've got a story map on our community mitigation grant program we're proud of. We've got that out there, as well as we commissioned a short little 3-minute video about the program last year too that's on our website that actually involves some of our partners and some of the Tom there at Glacier View. He gave us some of his time and was interviewed talking about this program. So, Commissioner, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head. Telling the story of this work and its importance and why is just so critically important to building that social license for it. So, and we're just trying to hit that in every angle and every level that we can. So great question, great point. Thanks.
Thank you, Josh, for your work. You have been instrumental in so many ways, and I just want to commend you for your work and your building relationships, and I'm just really grateful for what you do. And all of you in the room, this has been a really great session. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. It's better that I'm not. So as you can see, I can barely hold my voice right now, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Get well.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will move along to talk briefly about recycling, it looks like. Is that our last slide?
I just have a quick flyer here that our new garbage garage educator kind of helped me make. I have seen and heard that it's still a little bit confusing for recycling here at the county, and the E in I.C.A.R.E is for education. So we have an employee sustainability awareness team, and we try to do different events throughout the year and different articles in our employee newsletter to educate about different sustainability topics. So this is one that we thought could use a little bit more clarification on. So she made a flyer specifically about kind of more waste and recycling do's and don'ts that you might have for the office specifically, because some of those flyers contain like a lot of random things, and it's nice to have ones about objects and items that you might use in the office that you could be confused on. So that's just an little update there. And it looks like we have about 4 minutes for any questions that you might have on the rest of the information that I shared today.
All right, any more questions? I do, but you can go. No, that's fine.
I have no more questions. Just want to thank Abby for her work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner Cavallis. I'd have to find my questions.
Actually, I have a number of questions, but so maybe we can follow up, Abby, Heidi, relating to one of the initial slides, for example, revisiting the goal of the 10% reduction in ozone level. I have questions about that and a few other things, so maybe we can follow up offline. And also I have some questions about procurement policies, whether we consider life cycle reviews and that kind of thing. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Well, I'll just say thank you for the presentation. There's clearly a lot of work being done, and we appreciate all the different departments for doing their part in this. There's certainly, it's very impressive, and we appreciate, what we're doing. And, we've talked about this before, but it's really good for the county to model, what we're doing. As we're asking our community to do this work around, reducing their greenhouse gas emissions and their carbon footprint, it's good for us to reflect on what we do and how we could do this work better as well. So I think this is great. I love the idea of competitions and really, really challenging ourselves to do better as individuals and as an organization. And so I think this is great work, and I look forward to hearing more. But I do appreciate the update and really appreciate everybody's efforts to sort of dig deep in this space and figure out what we can do. So I think we'll end there if that's fine. It is 11:58 and we're adjourned. Thank you.